Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Let's talk diabetes with Nkiruka. So today, as promised, I'm going to talk about how proteins affect your blood sugar. Living with diabetes, you probably hear a lot about carbohydrates and blood sugar. One question: is that the only food group that affects your blood sugar? That's a very valid and important question to ask yourself as a person living with diabetes. So, we're talking about proteins today. Do you actually think that eating too much of protein can actually raise your blood sugar? We're going to break it down today in this video. So, what is protein? This is a very crucial nutrient that our body uses to build our muscle, repair body cells, and maintain vital functions in our bodies. So you can get these foods from these food groups from meat, eggs, dairy, and legumes. But here is the catch: your body can also convert these proteins to glucose when your body needs it. Oh, yes, you heard me right. Your body can convert excess protein into glucose when the body needs it. So, now let's talk about the process that can convert protein into glucose. So that process that can convert proteins into glucose is called gluconeogenesis. It's a fancy word, a very long fancy word, but it actually simply means making of new sugar. So when your body doesn't have enough carbs, especially if you are on like a low carb diet or keto diet, it can break down protein into glucose to keep your blood sugar from dropping too low. So if you live with type 2 diabetes or you are insulin resistant, your body may still produce glucose from protein. And this happens rather slowly in comparison to when you eat carbs. This usually leads to like a delayed rise in blood sugar, sometimes 3 to 5 hours after you have had a very high protein meal. You will notice that your blood sugars tend to increase, go higher. However, for persons living with type 1 diabetes, protein can still raise your blood sugar, especially if your meals contain little or no carbohydrates. That is why it's important to keep an eye on your blood sugars after you've probably had a very high protein diet. So this is very peculiar to persons living with type 1 because we don't have any form of insulin production in our bodies. For persons living with diabetes, it's very vital and key that we understand how the different food groups like affect our blood sugars. You know, when you talk about diabetes and diet, what comes into mind firstly is carbohydrates. But we need to understand that other food groups other than carbs can actually make our blood sugars go higher. So we need to understand carbs, proteins, and we're talking about proteins today, can really affect your blood sugar if eaten in excess. And understanding how this happens will be very helpful in managing your diabetes medications, be it if you're on insulin, if you're on oral diabetes medications, how you plan your meal and how you combine your meals. So having a very good understanding will help you avoid like surprises later in the day when you've probably consumed a very high protein diet. So when I speak to people, or in the course of conversation with people, when we're talking about diet and the old management protocol for diabetes, like let's say 3 to 4 decades ago, was basically protein based, and even in recent times, people are still under the impression that if you live with diabetes and you need to manage your blood sugars effectively, you must be on a high protein diet. And I tell people it is wrong. Protein, too much of it, can also lead to spikes in your blood sugar levels. And they're like, no, how can protein be broken down into carbs and cause an increase in your blood sugar level? I tell them, all food groups, this can happen if eaten in excess. What we need to understand is portion control. Whatever food group that we're going to consume as persons living with diabetes, we need to be very mindful of the portions, and you need to understand that too much of everything in terms of your meals will most definitely lead to high blood sugar levels. So if you're a protein lover, I will advise eat in moderation, small portion, and then you have your vegetables prepared in whatever form you enjoy, be it steaming, be it sauteed vegetables, or making a vegetable salad to have alongside with your proteins. This will make your blood sugars more stable and you won't notice that spike in your blood sugar. So eating in the right portion will keep your blood sugars in the right target range. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, and subscribe for more diabetes diet tips. And if you've got a question with regards to proteins, drop it in the comments. And please watch out for the next video where I will be comparing carbs and proteins. What is better for blood sugar? Well, look out for that video and you will get answers to the question that will be popping up in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.